I just like the news that now they're saying, hey, 58% of people who are dying with COVID and from COVID are people who have had the vaccine and or been boosted. And I read that article, and what that actually means by their definition is people who've had a full series. So you either had the one shot AstraZeneca and then multiple boosters, or you had both Pfizer's and a booster, or you had the Moderna and 2 boosters. So there's no like, oh, I only had one shot and then I stopped taking them and then I died.
Right.
You would not be a part of that 58%. If you died with only after taking one, you're still in that number, but not included in the 58. So how many people you think are in the total 100 that took something, not a full regimen, but just something? Mm-hmm. Well, we already know the numbers of people that took the first one. Not everyone returned for the second. What we're seeing is the second number is 58.
And the article that I was reading from Yahoo, it sounds like they're kind of trying to be like, well, some of these people died because they didn't get boosters, so maybe it's not the vaccine. It's like they don't say that, but it's there in between the lines where they're like, well, not everybody was fully vaccinated, and that's probably the issue here.
Yeah, and for the people that were, they're going to be like,
means.
Yeah, for the people that were fully vaccinated, they'll say they shouldn't have had it, but for the people that didn't get it, oh, they really needed it.
Right.
And meanwhile, while we have access to all of this information, I heard tons of stories on Twitter over Thanksgiving of people saying that their family members refused to let them come because they weren't vaccinated, excluded them, or at least forced them to get tested before they would walk in the door. I mean, people are still treating family members this way, despite what we know.
If we were requesting medical records and clean tests at our Thanksgiving growing up, I have cousins that would not have been able to come. But probably for different diseases, but they went to Michigan, so
that makes sense. Yeah.
It happens.
Well, Michigan won today, so
yeah, I'm sure there are more diseases passed around in Ann Arbor tonight. So good job, Wolverines.
That's facts.
Oh man, I did not see
Wait,
that.
so really Thanksgiving, like people you knew or just people you heard about? I don't know anyone who's still that, I guess, pig-headed. I've cut them out at this point.
People I know whose families didn't let them go to their.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Still this Thanksgiving?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's crazy, man. This brainwashing is strong. Now that happened to me in prior holidays. Like we still got together, but people were kind of pushing me to do something. I was like, I'm good. But this holiday, it's awkward because everybody knows it was like, okay, none of it made sense, but nobody's saying anything.
Yep.
I mean, this
Waffle
is
Salter, your birthday was only just the other week. Like, how is it that your family doesn't want to get together with you? That's insane.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying earlier, Osiris, about it being awkward, where there's a lot of people who know that they were wrong. They're realizing that they were wrong, and they're either just doubling down in stubbornness, or they're just trying to be quiet and hoping for that amnesty that was asked for, but they're not actually apologizing for the way that they treated people for the last 2 years.
I think we got to talk about that. Like, I think people are scared. What do you guys think? Why do you think people are still I think they're scared.
I think that this is something I always say. They're con artists on the left, and they'll just die with the lie. Like that's the whole thing is they cannot admit that they were wrong, and they'll die with it. They'll continue to keep their families away, wear the masks, go and get vaccines. They'll see the articles, they'll read, well, we want amnesty, but also I want to be like, I said it worked, and I kicked my family out of Thanksgiving, so I'm going to keep going and getting this vaccine until my blood clots up.
Right. So why won't you grant us amnesty for COVID? Here was an article. Nearly half of Democrats say fine prison time appropriate for questioning the vaccine, poll says. And this was January 17th of 2022.
Dang.
Wow.
Yep.
The people that beg for amnesty are likely the people who don't deserve amnesty.
Mm-hmm.
Just
because
honestly,
nobody who was scared and went out and got the vaccine and was a little hesitant is asking for amnesty because people understand that. It's the people who are doing exactly like what Frank put, which is you need to go to prison, you need to go to jail, you need to be kicked off of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, they were absolutely militant about it. They are the ones who want amnesty, and they're also the ones not apologizing. Whereas your family member was like, look, I didn't know better. I was confused. I trusted CNN. They probably are more willing to apologize, and they don't even really need to.
I wonder if criminal torment is a charge that someone can pick up, or like torment being a civil infraction that you could sue someone for. Like when these parents who have been targeted by school boards, targeted secretly by parents groups on Facebook, where they're made lists of the different conservative moms for liberty who are against masking. These parents had CPS called on them. These parents had false allegations of abuse lobbied at them just to see if they could get their kids taken away because they were a thorn in the side of the narrative. Those people who did that shouldn't just say, oh, well, let's let bygones be bygones. There needs to be some kind of reprieve, some kind of punishment, and we should take the requirement for revenge out of those parents' hands by having the law actually act and do something against those people. Because otherwise, it's going to be like the Hatfields and the McCoys. For the next 20 years, it's going to be people who remember the pandemic and how you treated me and how we treated you, and it's just going to be people pitted, and it's what people talk about civil war. This would be easily, or not easily, but more avoided if you instead had the law come down on people who pursued wrongfully any parent group, any outspoken employment group, people's rights groups, etc., protesters, advocacy groups.
I still remember those two doctors from California who spoke out very early on about just the COVID narrative itself and how quickly they rushed to demonize them and shut down their practices and things like that for speaking a reasonable approach to even handling COVID at the time. That was before any vaccines or anything like that. And they were basically, censored off from the internet and everything.
Yeah, it's funny because when I said they're con artists, like this makes me think of the vaccine coming out of China, out of a lab thing, right? Because at one point you were kicked off the internet for saying, hey, I think it actually came out of a lab. This whole bat soup thing doesn't make sense when the bat is hibernating 700 miles away from Wuhan, but it's right next to a coronavirus lab. That makes more sense to me. You were banned, you were censored. And then it kind of came out like, yeah, this almost, it came from a lab. Yeah. And now it's back to people arguing over this again. It's just like the masks. It's just like the vaccine. People like the media will put out the truth at one point for a second to be like, well, we said it. We're covered. And then everybody's like, oh, okay, I'm going to ignore that because it doesn't fit in with my preconceived notion. And it doesn't fit in with the people that I've censored and the people that I've kicked out of my life and disassociated with. So I'm going to go back to believing that it came from bat soup. Well, or I'm going to go back to believing the vaccine works, the masks work.
Well, on Tuesday or Wednesday during the press briefing, when Fauci was there with Karine Jean-Pierre, you had an African reporter there from the continent of Africa there asking the basic question, where did this originate from? Was it the lab in Wuhan? And she flipped out. Do you guys remember seeing that?
Yeah.
That clip?
She said, I'm done. I am done. Okay, I'm done, I believe was her quote.
Right. That's what I'm saying is at one point it was mainstream where they kind of just admitted, yeah, this came from a lab. And now it's back to, well, we can't say that. It's really strange. It's
you know what?
Like they never said it.
I did a TikTok on that. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of if you have like some concerns about your significant other and you're like, hey, can I see your phone? Or something like that. Do you have any text messages? And they're like, no, you can't see my phone. You're like, wait, hold up. Something doesn't smell right. It just didn't feel right how she handled it.
Yeah, why is your phone locked?
Yeah.
When did you put that password on there?
Yeah, wait till he asked about the beagles, then it would have got real heated.
Ooh.
Touchy.
Good night.
Thank you so much for checking out this clip from the Last American Pubcast, the only podcast where everybody knows your name. And hey, while you're here, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and join us on a Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Otherwise, you might get stuck with the tab.